At -25 degrees, while death waits in silence, a 90-year-old Apache woman stands alone, surrounded by 100 hungry wolves, with only one weak calf left to protect. The wind screams like a warning, ice bites her skin, and every breath feels like fire inside her chest. Her body is old, her hands tremble, yet her eyes refuse to bow to fear. The wolves circle slowly, their glowing eyes cutting through the dark, their hunger louder than the storm. The calf shivers behind her, small, helpless, trusting her completely. No weapon rests in her hands, no shelter waits nearby, and no help will come. One wrong move means death, not just for the calf, but for her as well. Time freezes as the wolves step closer. In that deadly silence, an impossible question hangs in the air. Can courage alone stop nature's most ruthless hunters tonight, right now? She is the oldest woman of her tribe, and this calf is not just an animal. It is her last family, her last hope, and her final responsibility. Years ago, war, hunger, and cold took everyone she loved, leaving only memories and silence behind. This calf was born on the same night her final son was buried, turning grief into purpose and pain into duty. She raised it with tired hands and a heart full of prayers, believing life still mattered even when hers felt finished. Every step she takes now is for this small life beside her. The tribe may be gone, but her promise remains alive through this calf. Tonight, protecting it is not a choice, it is her reason to breathe. If the calf dies, her world ends with it, and she is ready to face death before breaking that bond. The frozen land offers no mercy, and the snow beneath her feet feels sharper with every step she takes forward. The wind slashes across her face, stealing warmth, stealing strength, yet she keeps moving because stopping means surrender. Her lungs burn as she breathes, but she does not slow down, not even when pain spreads through her chest like fire. The wolves remain silent now, watching her closely, testing her resolve as they move through the snow with deadly patience. Each crunch beneath their paws echoes like a countdown, reminding her that time is running out. The calf presses closer to her legs, its small body shaking, its breath uneven, and she gently shifts her stance to block the cold and the danger at the same time. Her knees ache, her back bends under years of hardship, yet her spirit refuses to collapse. She remembers walking this land as a young girl, learning how the earth listens and how fear can be challenged if the heart stays strong. Tonight, those lessons return, guiding her steps even as weakness tries to pull her down. The cold seeps into her bones, but her mind stays sharp, focused only on survival. The wolves spread wider, cutting off every path, their eyes glowing brighter as hunger grows stronger. She feels the weight of their presence pressing against her soul, but she does not look away. Instead, she tightens her grip on the stick in her hand, knowing it is fragile but still something, still a symbol of resistance. Her breath fogs the air as she stands tall, planting her feet into the snow as if rooting herself into the land. The storm howls louder, mixing with distant growls, turning the night into a test of will rather than strength. Her heart pounds, not with fear alone, but with determination shaped by loss and love. The calf lets out a weak sound, and that sound ignites something fierce inside her, stronger than pain, stronger than age. She shifts again, placing her body directly in front of it, fully accepting whatever comes next. Every second stretches longer than the last as the wolves move closer, their shadows merging with the darkness. Her hands shake, but her eyes remain steady, locked forward, refusing to beg or retreat. In this frozen moment, the land watches, the night listens, and a 90-year-old woman prepares to face fate itself, knowing that if this is her final stand, it will be made with courage, dignity, and an unbreakable promise to protect life until her very last breath. One howl tears through the frozen air, sharp and sudden, forcing her heart to jump. Then another follows, deeper and closer, until the silence shatters completely and shadows begin to move from every direction. The sound rolls across the land like a warning sent by death itself, and she slowly turns her head, scanning the darkness without panic, knowing fear will only weaken her stance. Shapes emerge between drifting snow and broken rocks, large bodies gliding with terrifying control, their breath steaming as they close in. The calf stiffens, pressing against her leg, and she lowers her free hand to calm it, even though her own pulse races inside her ears. The wolves do not rush. They study her, circling wider, testing distance, measuring weakness, their intelligence clear in every step they take. She feels surrounded now, not just physically but spiritually, as if the night itself has chosen a side. Her shoulders tighten, yet she lifts her chin, refusing to appear small, refusing to give them the victory of seeing her shrink. Another howl rises, closer than before, followed by the sound of paws cutting through snow, steady and confident. The cold no longer matters. Only the movement does. Her eyes lock onto the nearest shape, tracking it carefully while sensing others sliding into position behind her. She shifts her weight with care, making sure the calf stays hidden by her body, accepting that she has become the shield. The wind carries the smell of hunger, sharp and heavy, and she understands that these animals have followed that scent for miles. Her grip tightens around the stick, knowing it cannot fight them, but can still speak for her courage. The wolves pause again, creating a ring of glowing eyes that flicker in the dark like dying stars. She exhales slowly, grounding herself, remembering that panic feeds predators and calm unsettles them. Her legs tremble, not from fear alone but from age and cold combined, yet she remains upright, balanced by purpose rather than strength. Snow drifts against her boots as the circle tightens, and the distance between breaths grows shorter. One wolf steps forward, testing her reaction, and she answers by standing firmer, her gaze steady, her body unmoving. The calf lets out a soft sound, barely audible, and she gently nudges it closer behind her, silently promising safety even when none seems possible. The night feels endless now, stretched between that first howl and whatever comes next. In this frozen standoff, surrounded by predators and darkness, she understands that survival will not be decided by numbers or power, but by who breaks first, and she silently vows that it will not be her. Her body is old, her hands shake, and her legs barely hold her, but she does not step back, even as weakness crawls through her muscles and threatens to pull her down. The cold presses harder now, settling into her joints, making every movement slower, heavier, yet her mind stays clear, fixed on the narrow space of survival she must defend. She feels the wolves watching for a sign of collapse, waiting for the moment her balance breaks, and that knowledge forces her spine straight despite the pain screaming through it. Each breath feels thinner than the last, scraping her lungs, but she controls it, knowing rushed air will betray her fear. The calf shifts again, and she widens her stance to steady herself, planting her feet deeper into the snow as if daring the ground to fail her. Her fingers ache as she tightens around the stick, not as a weapon but as an anchor, something real to hold while everything else feels uncertain. A wave of dizziness passes through her head, and for a heartbeat the world tilts. But she closes her eyes briefly, draws strength from the memory of sunrise prayers, and opens them with renewed focus. The wolves sense the change, stepping closer, their movements smooth and silent, confidence growing with every second she remains trapped in the circle. She understands that they believe time is on their side, that age will finish what hunger started, yet she refuses to confirm that belief. Her shoulders sag for a moment, then rise again as she forces her posture tall, presenting herself not as prey but as presence. The wind tears at her clothing, pushing against her balance, and she shifts carefully, compensating without showing strain. Her heartbeat thunders in her chest, loud enough that she wonders if the animals can hear it, but her face stays calm, carved from resolve rather than fear. The calf's warmth brushes against her leg, a small reminder of why she still stands, and that touch sends a quiet strength through her tired frame. She has lived through storms, through loss, through long winters that tested her spirit, and she knows this moment demands the same endurance. One wolf lowers its head, eyes locked on her trembling hands, and she responds by lifting the stick slightly, not to attack, but to declare space. Her arms protest, muscles burning, yet she holds the position, refusing to let them see surrender. Snow gathers on her hair and shoulders, turning her into part of the land itself, unmoving, patient, stubborn. Pain pulses through her knees, threatening to buckle them, but she shifts her weight with care, mastering the ache instead of yielding to it. In the tight ring of shadows and cold breath, she accepts that she may not win by strength. Yet she believes deeply that courage can still change the ending, and as long as she remains standing, the night has not claimed her or the life she protects. The calf trembles behind her, sensing death, trusting her without question, and that silent trust cuts deeper than the cold ever could. Its small body presses against her legs, shaking in uneven waves, each breath thin and frightened, and she feels the weight of its fear as clearly as her own pain. She lowers her arms slightly, not turning around, but letting her fingers brush its neck in a quiet promise that she is still there. The touch steadies the calf for a moment, though its legs remain weak, barely able to support its weight. She adjusts her position again, careful and slow, creating a barrier with her body that blocks every moving shadow. The wolves notice the movement immediately, heads tilting, eyes narrowing, reading the bond between protector and life. The air feels heavier now, thick with tension, as if the night itself is holding its breath. The calf lets out a faint sound, not loud enough to echo, but strong enough to pull at her heart, and she feels a sharp ache behind her eyes that has nothing to do with the wind. She remembers carrying it when it was smaller, wrapping it in worn cloth to shield it from storms, whispering songs learned long ago so it would sleep without fear. Those memories rise now, fragile yet powerful, feeding her resolve when her strength fades. She leans slightly forward, shielding it more completely, accepting that her own body will take the first blow if the circle breaks. Her arms feel heavier, her balance more fragile, but she refuses to let the calf see her weaken. The wolves step closer again, drawn by the sound, their movements precise, controlled, predatory, and she responds by widening her stance, locking her knees despite the pain shooting through them. Snow shifts beneath her boots, but she holds steady, grounding herself through sheer will. The calf's breath warms her leg, a small living heat against the brutal cold, and that contrast reminds her what is at stake. She cannot run, cannot fight, cannot hide, yet she can stand, and standing is enough for now. The night seems endless, stretched thin between fear and hope, and every second feels earned through endurance alone. One wolf edges nearer, testing the invisible line she has drawn, and she meets its stare without blinking, her face calm even as her heart races. The calf senses her stillness and quiets slightly, trusting her silence more than sound. That trust becomes a bond stronger than fear, binding them together against the dark. Her muscles tremble again, exhaustion creeping deeper, but she breathes slowly, carefully, refusing to let panic guide her actions. The cold burns, the shadows tighten, and danger waits just beyond reach. Yet in this fragile balance, she remains unbroken. In the frozen night, surrounded by hunger and silence, an old woman and a small calf stand connected by faith alone, and as long as that faith holds, neither is truly alone. She draws strength from memories rising quietly inside her, memories of ancestors who stood firm when fear tried to claim their hearts. She remembers stories told beside dying fires, voices steady, faces marked by hardship yet glowing with purpose. Those stories spoke of protecting life as sacred, of standing between danger and the weak without hesitation. The weight of those lessons settles into her spine, straightening it when exhaustion pulls her forward. She feels less alone now, as if unseen hands support her back, reminding her that courage flows through blood and spirit alike. The wolves remain watchful, sensing a change they cannot understand, reading a confidence that did not exist moments before. Her breathing slows, guided by old teachings that say calm can shape fate. She lifts her chin slightly, eyes clear, posture grounded, no longer fighting only with her body but with belief sharpened by time. The cold still burns, pain still pulses, yet neither rules her actions anymore. She recalls walking long trails with elders who learned patience from the land itself, who knew that endurance often defeats force. That wisdom steadies her feet, helping her adjust without panic as the circle tightens. The calf presses closer, and she welcomes the contact, letting it anchor her to the present while her past fuels her resolve. She understands now that survival depends on balance, not aggression, presence rather than movement. The wolves pace slowly, uneasy with her stillness, unsure why she does not flee or collapse. Snow gathers along her sleeves, melting slightly from the heat of her skin, marking time without sound. She remembers a vow spoken long ago, not aloud but carried in action, a vow to protect life until breath leaves her body. That vow hardens her will, turning fear into something distant and manageable. Her hands steady despite the cold, fingers relaxed, grip controlled, showing no sign of surrender. The land feels closer now, as if listening, as if recognizing one of its own standing in defense of balance rather than dominance. The wind softens briefly, giving her a moment of still air, and she uses it to center herself fully. Each wolf seems to hesitate longer between steps, confused by a presence that refuses to weaken. She does not challenge them with sound or motion, only with quiet certainty shaped by decades of survival. Her heart beats strong and even, carrying resolve through tired veins. The calf senses the shift and grows calmer, its breathing easing as trust deepens. Night stretches on, yet time loses power when purpose takes control. She stands as her ancestors once did, not seeking victory, but refusing defeat. In that frozen circle of shadow and snow, memory becomes armor, belief becomes strength, and a promise made long ago rises alive within her, guiding every breath as she holds her ground against the dark. She stands with no weapon and no escape, fully aware that nothing separates her from danger except a thin stick, her voice, and an unbreakable will shaped by years of survival. The stick feels light in her hand, almost meaningless against the bodies moving around her, yet she holds it with intention, knowing symbols can carry power beyond their size. Her voice rests silent in her chest, not wasted on panic, save for the moment it may matter. The wolves shift again, closer now, their patience sharpening, and she understands that they are waiting for proof of weakness. She does not give it to them. Instead, she plants her feet deeper, steadying her balance despite the shaking that threatens to return. The calf leans into her, trusting her stillness more than any sound, and she adjusts subtly to keep it hidden behind her legs. The night feels tighter, like a closing fist, yet her thoughts remain focused, uncluttered by fear. She knows running would end everything, that turning away would invite the attack she is trying to delay. So she stays facing forward, shoulders squared, breathing slow and controlled. Her throat tightens with cold, but she swallows and prepares her voice, not to scream, but to command space if needed. The wolves pause again, unsettled by her refusal to behave like prey, confused by a presence that does not retreat. Snow crunches softly as one steps closer, then stops, gauging her reaction. She responds by lifting the stick slightly, not in threat, but in declaration, marking an invisible boundary with calm certainty. Her arm aches as she holds it there, muscles protesting, yet she does not lower it. The land feels vast and empty, but in this moment, everything exists within the narrow circle of breath and movement. She senses the calf's warmth and lets it remind her that life continues even under threat. The cold gnaws at her skin, numbing fingers and toes, but her mind stays sharp, guiding every adjustment. She releases a slow breath into the air, fog drifting upward, and that controlled exhale steadies her nerves. The wolves read the sound, tilting heads, reassessing, their hunger meeting resistance they did not expect. She does not shout, does not charge, does not beg. She simply stands, grounded by purpose rather than power. Time stretches, each second heavy, yet she endures it without flinching. Her voice rises briefly, low and firm, not in fear but in presence, a sound shaped by authority rather than volume. The wolves halt again, tension rippling through the circle, uncertainty passing between them. She lowers her voice back into silence, conserving energy, letting the stillness speak for her. With no weapon and no path to safety, she relies on the one thing that has never failed her, the will to protect life at any cost. In the frozen night, surrounded by hunger and shadows, she remains where she is, proving that even without strength or escape, resolve can still hold the line. Yellow eyes glow in the dark as the circle tightens, and time feels frozen, stretched thin between breath and heartbeat. The wolves move with quiet purpose, closing the gaps she marked with stillness, their steps measured, confident, patient. Snow shifts under their paws, soft sounds that feel louder than thunder in her ears, yet she does not turn her head or break her focus. Her shoulders square as the space narrows, and she adjusts her footing by inches, guarding the calf with instinct sharpened by experience. The cold deepens, creeping into her bones, but she keeps her breathing slow, steady, refusing to give panic a voice. One wolf steps forward, then stops, reading her posture, weighing risk against reward. She meets its gaze without blinking, letting her calm speak louder than any threat. The stick remains raised at a careful angle, not striking, not shaking, marking the boundary she will not surrender. The calf shifts, frightened, and she lowers her center of gravity, shielding it more fully, accepting the strain across her knees and back. Pain flares, sharp and bright, yet she absorbs it, knowing movement would invite chaos. The wolves fan closer, their eyes brighter now, reflecting hunger and calculation, testing the edges of her resolve. She feels their attention like pressure on her skin, a force that tries to push her inward, smaller, weaker. Instead, she expands within herself, drawing on patience learned through winters that taught endurance over speed. The wind quiets for a moment, and in that still air, her breath becomes a measured rhythm that steadies her mind. She senses the pack communicating without sound, deciding, reassessing, uncertain why this small figure does not collapse. Snowflakes land on her lashes and melt, and she does not flinch. Her voice stays ready, held back, a tool reserved for the exact moment it might matter. Another step closes the ring, then another, until the distance feels close enough to touch. She lifts her chin slightly, claiming space with presence alone, and the nearest wolf hesitates, weight shifting, doubt flickering behind its eyes. The calf presses closer, warmth against cold, and she welcomes the contact as proof of life worth defending. Her hands ache, fingers numb, yet her grip remains controlled, neither tight nor loose. She listens to her heart, not to fear, letting its steady beat guide her timing. The night seems to watch, the land holding still as if awaiting a decision. The wolves pause together, a collective uncertainty rippling through the circle. She remains unmoving, balanced between risk and restraint, trusting that calm can slow the moment longer than force ever could. With each held second, she buys time, and with time, she keeps hope alive. In that narrowing ring of glowing eyes and silent snow, she stands unwavering, proving that even as the circle tightens and time feels frozen, resolve can still shape what happens next. She steps forward, placing herself between the wolves and the calf, ready to dive first, feeling the weight of every second press against her chest like a frozen stone. Her legs ache, her knees threatening to buckle under the strain of age and exhaustion, but she moves with careful determination, each step deliberate, measured, a promise carved into motion. The wolves pause, sensing the shift, their yellow eyes tracking her, calculating, uncertain, and she does not falter under the scrutiny. The calf presses tightly against her legs, small and fragile, its warmth a tether to life and courage, and she bends slightly to shield it, letting her presence become a wall of silent defiance. The wind howls around them, carrying snow that stings like needles, yet she remains steady, her breath controlled, fogging the air only enough to remind herself she is alive. Every instinct screams that the predators could strike at any moment, yet she trusts in her own resolve, in the lessons of survival passed down through generations, in the memory of ancestors who stood firm against impossible odds. She raises her stick slightly, not as a weapon but as an extension of herself, a signal that she will not yield, and the nearest wolf steps closer, testing her nerve, and she meets its gaze without blinking, letting her calm, unshakable presence speak louder than force ever could. The calf lets out a soft whimper, and she hums a low, steadying sound that carries no fear, only assurance, and the wolf tilts its head, confused by the connection it cannot comprehend. Snow crunches under paws circling the edge, the cold biting through her clothes and into her bones. Yet she feels no fear, only the pulse of life she carries in her charge. Her heart pounds, not with panic, but with a rhythm that matches the drum of survival, guiding her muscles, sharpening her senses. The wolves fan out slightly, spreading wider, sensing her determination but testing limits, and she shifts subtly, keeping the calf hidden, her body a living barrier, her eyes unwavering. Pain radiates through every joint. Her shoulders burn, her back aches, but she bends none of her principles, lets none of her fear show, standing taller with every second. The night stretches endlessly, shadows dancing in the fire of wolf eyes, and she becomes both stillness and movement, a force not measured by size or age, but by sheer unbreakable will. Each breath she takes strengthens her claim. Each heartbeat solidifies her stand, until even the wind seems to pause, waiting, watching, acknowledging that this small, frail figure contains more courage than the wild itself expects. In that frozen clearing of snow and silence, with predator and prey balanced on the knife edge of a moment, she becomes more than herself, a guardian shaped by time and loss. And by standing in front of the calf, she declares that life will not be taken while she still draws breath, proving that courage can confront death even when everything else is powerless. She shouts, raises her stick, and stares into the eyes of death without blinking, letting her voice slice through the frozen night like fire, sharp and unyielding, and the sound carries her will more powerfully than any weapon ever could. The wolves halt, momentarily stunned by the sudden eruption of presence and authority, their glowing eyes narrowing, ears twitching in confusion, sensing a spirit that refuses to yield. She plants her feet firmly into the snow, feeling the crunch beneath her boots, the cold biting into her ankles and knees. Yet her focus is unwavering, entirely fixed on guarding the calf and holding the line between life and destruction. Her chest heaves with controlled breath, each exhale a rhythm of defiance, a pulse that speaks louder than fear, and the calf presses closer, small body trembling but calmed by her resolve. The pack shifts, testing distance, circling cautiously, weighing the cost of each step, and she meets every gaze with unwavering eyes, refusing to show weakness, refusing to give an inch. Pain pulses through her back, shoulders, and arms as she lifts the stick higher, the muscles quivering, but determination carries her strength, grounding her like the roots of ancient trees her ancestors once walked among. Snow whirls around them, filling the air with icy shards, but she stands solid, a figure carved from courage and experience, commanding attention without force, relying solely on the power of presence and spirit. Each wolf pauses longer than the last, unsure how to respond to this frail, yet immovable barrier, and she allows a low, steady hum to rise from her chest, a sound both human and elemental, filling the gap between predator and protector, confusing instinct with something beyond hunger. The calf nuzzles against her leg, seeking warmth and safety, and she tightens her stance, letting its small weight anchor her body even as exhaustion claws at every joint, reminding her that even the weakest connection can carry strength beyond measure. The wolves' paws scrape across the frozen ground, the tension stretching like a wire ready to snap, yet she holds the space with patience, timing, and unflinching resolve. She sways slightly, adjusting for balance, keeping the calf hidden completely behind her legs, eyes still locked on the nearest predator, stick poised but not striking, voice silent now except for the heartbeat of courage that resonates through her every movement. The night seems to condense around them, shadows stretching, snow drifting. The wind paused as if waiting to see which will falter first. Her throat burns from shouting, muscles scream in protest, cold gnaws deeper into her bones, but none of it matters. She embodies the promise she made silently long ago, the vow to protect life at any cost. And in that moment, presence becomes power, courage becomes armor, and spirit challenges death itself. Even as the wolves inch closer, unsure and hesitant, they sense the strength that cannot be broken, the determination that refuses to fade, and for a fleeting but eternal instant, the battle is not of teeth and claws, but of heart and will, and she stands undefeated, a sentinel between darkness and the fragile life she has sworn to defend. The wolves hesitate, sensing something stronger than hunger. Courage, a force that hangs in the frozen air and bends the rules of instinct. And for a moment, the circle of yellow eyes loses the certainty that has driven them for miles. The 90-year-old Apache woman stands rigid, yet flowing with controlled energy, her chest rising and falling in measured rhythm, each breath a silent declaration that this life is not forfeit. The calf presses into her legs, trembling less now, sensing the shift in tension, and she feels a surge of quiet triumph mixed with deep exhaustion. The wolves glance at one another, their ears flicking, heads tilting, unsure whether to strike or retreat, as if the courage radiating from her is a language they cannot decipher but instinctively respect. She raises her stick slightly, not as a threat, but as a symbol of presence, a beacon of unyielding will that commands acknowledgement. Snow swirls around them, catching in her hair, dusting her shoulders, yet she does not flinch. The cold no longer dominates her senses because purpose burns brighter. Each second stretches longer, time frozen between the predator's hesitation and her unbroken resolve, and she allows herself to feel the pulse of life, the weight of her vow, the bond with the calf that has carried her through decades of survival. A low wind carries the scent of frozen pine, mingling with the musk of the wolves, and the night holds its breath, listening to the silent communication between spirit and nature. One wolf edges forward cautiously, then stops, uncertainty flickering in its eyes as it senses that this figure will not break, will not run, and will not yield. She shifts subtly to maintain balance, knees aching, back stiff, but her stance is unwavering, an immovable line drawn in snow and courage. The calf's warmth against her legs reminds her of everything at stake, fueling the remaining strength in her tired body, sharpening her awareness of every subtle movement around them. The wolves' hesitation grows, their coordinated advance replaced by pauses and glances, a fragile truce forming in the tension of frozen night. She exhales slowly, fogging the air, letting the rhythm of her calm fill the space between predator and protector, a rhythm that does not waver despite the pain and cold. The glow in the wolves' eyes dulls slightly as they reassess, unsure how to proceed against a force they cannot overpower, a silent warning passing through the pack that perhaps hunger alone will not claim victory here. Her heart pounds, but not with fear. It beats in time with purpose and memory, courage inherited from those who came before her, ancestors who stood for life when all else failed. The calf leans closer, sensing the protection, and she bends slightly to cover it further, letting her presence radiate warmth, patience, and resilience. Time feels suspended, every movement loaded with potential consequence, yet she remains steady, embodying the principle that will can outweigh strength, that determination can command respect even from nature's fiercest hunters. In that frozen moment, surrounded by yellow eyes and sharpened instincts, something unexpected occurs. The wolves sense they face not prey, but a spirit unbreakable, and hesitation grows into awe, confusion, and respect, giving the woman and her last calf a sliver of survival where before there was only fear. One by one, the wolves step back, their howls fading into the frozen night, leaving only the soft crunch of snow beneath retreating paws. And for the first time in hours, the 90-year-old Apache woman feels the tightness in her chest ease slightly. Her legs quiver with exhaustion, knees burning, back aching as if carrying the weight of decades. Yet she does not collapse. She remains perfectly still, shielding the calf with every ounce of strength she can muster. The calf nudges her legs softly, small and hesitant, and she bends down just enough to brush its head with a trembling hand, a gesture of reassurance and quiet victory. The wind sighs through the barren trees, carrying away the tension and leaving only the sharp scent of snow and pine, and she inhales slowly, letting the cold fill her lungs without panic, savoring the moment of reprieve. Each wolf retreats with deliberate caution, eyes still flicking toward her, sensing a courage that cannot be hunted or overcome, their instinct telling them that this fragile figure commands respect beyond fear. The circle dissolves gradually, shadows receding as if the night itself recognizes the boundary she has drawn with presence and will alone. Her heart pounds fiercely, a rhythm of relief and adrenaline mingled, yet she remains composed, knowing the night is not fully safe, but acknowledging that life has won this round. She straightens slowly, legs shaking, hands trembling, gripping the stick with less force now, more as a symbol of the stand she made than a tool of defense. Snow falls gently on her shoulders and hair, cooling her flushed skin, and she closes her eyes for a moment, letting gratitude wash over her, gratitude for endurance, for instinct, for life spared. The calf moves closer, seeking warmth, and she kneels slightly, wrapping an arm around its small body, feeling its heartbeat sync with hers, a shared rhythm of survival. Her mind races with every second that passed, every near movement of predator and prey, and she feels the weight of what she has endured, the thin line between courage and death, the lesson that life can demand impossible choices. The wolves, now fading into the distance, leave behind a silence that is both eerie and comforting, a night that witnessed fear, resilience, and unwavering will. Her eyes scan the dark horizon, ensuring the threat is truly gone, and then she allows herself a small exhale of relief, her body relaxing just enough to feel the triumph. The snow crunches under her feet as she steps forward cautiously, guiding the calf away from the clearing, each step a reminder of the battle fought and survived. The cold still bites, yet it no longer dominates. Her focus is now on movement, on guiding life through the frozen landscape with patience and care. One by one, memories of ancestors, of lessons taught around fires long ago, return to her, grounding her spirit even as her body trembles. The wolf's retreat becomes a symbol, a silent acknowledgement from nature that courage and determination demand respect, and that even the smallest, frailest form can command the wild without violence. She looks down at the calf, eyes soft with relief and exhaustion, and whispers a quiet promise that life continues because she stood firm, that courage has a language even predators understand, and that tonight, the frozen land honors those who refuse to surrender. At sunrise, she is still standing, cold, exhausted, but alive, with the calf safe beside her, its small body pressed closely against her legs, and for the first time in hours, the sky softens into pale gold, brushing the frozen land with light that feels like a reward for endurance. Her legs tremble violently as she shifts weight from one foot to the other, every joint screaming with pain, yet she refuses to sit, refusing to let relief soften her vigilance too soon. The snow glimmers like crushed diamonds in the morning glow, each flake catching on eyelashes, hair, and clothing, reminding her how long the night seemed and how fragile life can be. The calf nudges her hand, seeking warmth and reassurance, and she strokes its small neck gently, feeling the steady rhythm of its heartbeat against her palm, a pulse that tells her she has succeeded against impossible odds. Her chest heaves, lungs burning from cold and exertion, and yet the adrenaline has faded into a quiet hum of awareness, a clarity that allows her to feel each breath as victory. Around them, the world seems to exhale, the wind softening, trees swaying gently, and even the distant mountains appear less menacing than they did under the frozen night sky. The memory of the wolves lingers like a shadow in her mind, yellow eyes and growls pressed into her memory, but she knows the lesson has been learned on both sides. Courage can halt death, and life can demand a price that even nature must respect. She shifts slightly, checking the calf's legs, making sure it can walk, that it has not been broken by fear or cold, and she smiles faintly, a mixture of exhaustion and relief washing over her. Every muscle aches, from fingers to back, yet her spirit feels untouched, strengthened by the ordeal, by standing when the world expected her to fall, by holding the line against hunger and darkness. The snow beneath her feet crunches softly with each careful step as she begins guiding the calf toward shelter, the sunrise casting long shadows that stretch across the plains like silent witnesses to her courage. Her thoughts drift to ancestors, to lessons taught long ago about patience, endurance, and respect for life, and she realizes those lessons have carried her through the night, shaping every action, every breath, every heartbeat. The air smells of frost and pine, crisp and clean, and she inhales deeply, letting the cold bite at her lungs, reminding her she is alive, that the night's terror has passed, and that she has survived where others might have perished. The calf follows closely, tentative at first, gaining confidence with each step, and she matches its pace, careful not to overstrain her still aching body. The sky grows brighter, warmth hinting at the day ahead, and for the first time since nightfall, she allows herself to relax slightly, to feel the weight of accomplishment settle over her like a soft blanket. Every frozen shadow that once threatened them is gone, replaced by light, and she understands fully that survival is not just a matter of strength or age, but of courage, patience, and the will to protect what matters most. Together, she and the calf move slowly across the glistening snow, a testament to endurance, a living story of survival against all odds. Proof that even the oldest and weakest can triumph when the heart refuses to surrender. And as the first rays of sun warm their backs, she knows that life, fragile but unbroken, continues because she stood, because she fought, and because she loved fiercely enough to face death itself. That night proved one truth forever. Strength is not measured by age or power, but by the courage to protect what you love, even when death is watching. The 90-year-old Apache woman, cold, battered, and trembling, stood as the first rays of sunrise touched the snow, her body aching but her spirit unbroken, and the calf safe beside her, its small eyes wide with trust and life. Every howl, every shadow, every moment of fear she had faced melted into the dawn, leaving only the proof that determination can bend the wild itself. She had no weapon, no backup, only will, and yet that will was stronger than hunger, stronger than darkness, stronger than time itself. In the silent light of morning, she realized that love and courage are the truest shields, that life survives when hearts refuse to surrender, and that sometimes the smallest acts of bravery echo louder than storms, leaving a mark that cannot be erased from memory.